You're listening to the Roofing Success Podcast, a show created to inspire roofing contractors to achieve optimal success in their roofing businesses. I'm the host, Jim Moline, the co-author of the book, Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors, How to Triple Your Sales and Turn Your Roofing Website into an Online Lead Generation Machine. I'm also the co-founder of Roofer Marketers, the digital marketing agency for the roofing industry. On each episode, I'll be sitting down with industry leaders to talk about their processes, the lessons they've learned, and how to find success in roofing. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. Really excited for today's guest. But first of all, if you're a longtime listener, if you're really enjoying the content that we're putting out, make sure to give us a like, drop a comment, click subscribe, share this with other roofing contractors that you know that might be interested in helping to find success in their business. So my guest today is a young, highly motivated entrepreneur with a finance and construction background. Marketing is his strong point, and he's led companies to very successful track records. His biggest asset is his ability to be a leader and overcome obstacles. And this has allowed him to build successful teams that share the same passion to win as he does. And he believes that surrounding yourself with the right people is crucial when you're going for a championship. So we're going to talk a lot about that and get to know, some of the things that are working for him and some of the things that haven't. So today's guest is Jonathan Keating of Roof King. Welcome to the show, Jonathan.
Hey, how are you doing, Jim? I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Great. So how about, for our listeners, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about your company and about yourself and how you got into roofing?
Okay. Well, yeah, so I've been doing this right around 10 years. I started right when I was about 18, right when I was going to college. I've got a summer job, selling roofs, and just decided to stick with it. I did really well that summer and ended up going back to school and finding another company to work for. And while I was in college, which I guess what kept me interested was I found a company that allowed me to work the entire time I was in school. So even when I was in school, I had a company vehicle, and it was just, go out when you want, sell roofs when you want. Then I might sometimes run their company leads. So, from the time I was 18 to 21, 22, I got to make pretty good money compared to probably most kids because I had found this, job that was very, had very lucrative pay definitely for somebody who, is good at sales because we're selling, a commodity, and then going to school for finance and coming from an entrepreneur background with my family. My family's, got some entrepreneurs in it. And, I got one of those, I got those parents that really, push you. So I just decided, hey, I've already got 4 years experience now. I might as well just start my own business. Being 1099 allowed you to have your own LLC. So I had that set up, and then, you get to kind of see how that operates. So that's kind of what transitioned me to start my own business at 22. And then also, by that time I had introduced a couple of my family members into this business. They, were looking for kind of something in their career path. They hadn't quite found it yet, my brothers, and I showed them this. They got really good at it. So my first year in business, we kind of all worked together, and that was a big part of it is that my first, in the start of it, we had a good team to get going. And that's really how I got going in the business, to be honest with you. So, I just stuck with it, worked for a couple roofing companies. And then after, really seeing their production headaches and how they couldn't keep up usually with their sales, I was like, hey, let me try to go see if I can figure that out and, build my own business.
Nice, man. That's awesome. And you guys are out in North Carolina, correct?
Yeah. North Carolina, so we're just local. Yep. And
you're a big basketball fan, I know. So there's a question looming out there, right? Yeah. UNC or Duke?
I'm a UNC fan. Tar Heels. Yep.
There you go, man. Chapel Hill, right?
Yeah, I'm all right. That's where Jordan went. I'm all about Michael Jordan.
That's right, man.
Yep.
Nice. That's probably more important than a lot of the stuff that we'll talk about today, right? So
yeah.
But with Roof King, let's talk a little bit about who your ideal customer is. What's your target market? Who do you guys focus on serving?
I mean, we say anybody no job too small. We'll do roof repairs, but our target customer is really like the high-end residential customer, somebody that's owning over $500,000 to $1 million dwelling, and that, doesn't have a roofer they can trust, because we're somebody that's been in business, 6 years now and has enough experience to where we do those jobs correctly. If it's a designer shingle, copper, valleys, anything that's like specific like that, we feel like we're the roofer for. And then also, if you're a customer that's been denied or on their second, third go around through their insurance, we're the insurance specialists. That's where that's my bread and butter, and I understand that process so well, that we're the company that can take a lot of those high-end customers that have been mistreated, or they didn't, their first go around, they didn't get what they want. And we end up, getting them approved. And that usually gets us a ton of referrals and kind of finds us that niche where we're known as the company, hey, call, they'll make sure they can take care of you front to back to cut the red tape with the insurance company.
Nice, man. So in positioning yourself to those customers, what's your unique selling proposition? How do you kind of transmit that to your perfect customer?
Yeah, our value proposition really is, like we use our brand a lot, Roof King, obviously that's really catchy. And if you look us up, we have the Griffin Brothers partnership. So we've been serving families since 1961. That's like our big, selling point. But really what we try to do is explain to them, hey, listen, we're a master lead contractor. You're going to get the best warranty with us. We go ahead and give them all the upgrades, felt paper, architectural shingles, and they just pay their deductible. So that's our value proposition is, hey man, why, if you're going to make that one decision in a lifetime, or, 2 or 3 times in your life getting a roof, why not choose the best roofing company that if you're going to pay your deductible to, they do the best job, that they service the work the longest, and are going to be here the longest. And then, I usually ask them, hey, look up 10 companies in your area. And, believe it or not, no matter where you're at, it's hard to find a lot of those companies in smaller cities, and maybe in the bigger cities, you're going to find more franchise roofers, but in smaller cities, you're only going to find a lot of local guys that are in the middle of the pack. And then you have these guys up here that are, the platinum preferred, master elite. And if you just educate a customer on that, you'll be amazed that they go with you, because that's, your value proposition. You're going to be here to service their work. If you go out of business, they still get a warranty. So, that's kind of why that's kind of like, our little, selling proposition for the customer.
Nice. So what type of marketing do you guys do? And you're in how many markets are you in right now?
We're in 4 markets.
4 markets. Okay.
Yeah. 4 big markets. One of them we've kind of pulled away from, and that's the coast, just because the coast is a little bit of a different beast.
Yeah.
And, but we've been, we service all the major cities throughout North Carolina. I'm from Charlotte, so that's always been our main market. Raleigh's, though, up and coming and is by far our fastest growing.
Okay.
But
nice.
Yeah, but the marketing aspect, we do pretty much everything. Like if I looked at a list, we probably, we're one of those companies that hits them all. We don't put all our eggs in one basket. We're doing, Angie's List. We got, canvassers out, knocking doors. But what's been biggest for us lately, and I know a lot of it, we have COVID-19, so there's a huge change going on in the world, but it's Facebook and Google. I mean, it has been amazing the past 2 years, the amount of really good leads we get out of Google and Facebook. Those are usually our strongest, leads that we get, that are their closing ratio is pretty high.
Nice. I have that same mindset. And I've said this many times probably on the podcast for people that listen all the time, but there's a guy named Jim Rohn, who's kind of a marketing sales guy, wrote a lot of books. He was one of Tony Robbins' mentors. And he had this thing that I caught on to back in the early 2000s reading his stuff. And it was that it takes 5 to 7 lead sources to kind of fill a pipeline consistently. Right. And what are your thoughts on, why do you guys do everything? Is that kind of to that point that?
Absolutely. That's
okay.
That you just nailed on the head. Is I am always trying to be assertive, thinking 10 steps ahead. And I get scared, like definitely with the COVID-19. I mean, you really shouldn't be out knocking doors. People are even scared to take paper, if they're weird about transferring paper. That this is why I wanted to make sure that we were prepared, that we had different forms of marketing for when we grew, not only so, because, I look at it, I have like a little model I do in my head that if I have, per each employee, definitely if they're a roof consultant, they have to they should be able to produce $1 million. And then the production should be able to service that. So if I have, like right now we've got 8 guys and a lot of them, self-generate, I need to have a certain amount of company leads to not only keep them busy, but to pay for their salaries. If we're not keeping them busy, they're not getting sales to pay the bills. So that's why I do it, because when I was growing the business, we might have had one good day where we'd get a lot of leads knocking doors, and then you go weeks without the phones ringing and you're just waiting on a referral. And I just didn't want to do that anymore. And I'm on a lot of these other roofing training programs that are out there. And that's just what they say in there, like on Sky Diamonds University or Storm Ventures. They just say in there, hey, you need to start doing these other forms of marketing because the world's changing. So that's why we did it. You just nailed it.
Right on, man. Yeah, that's what I see. And I know a lot of contractors out there that they'll try to rely on one thing, or they're looking for one solution, like, oh, well, this, if Facebook is going to kill it, then let's just go all in on Facebook and forget everything else. And I think that's a big problem that companies have when they're trying to grow. And you did mention that you guys are doing good on Google and Facebook. That sounds like it's been some of the better leads that have been coming into your company, especially since the COVID-19.
Yeah.
So what are you guys doing on Google? Are you focused on search engine optimization, pay-per-click, Google local service ads? What are you guys doing over there?
I've been doing all that since we started. Started with a small budget, and then just slowly I've just been growing it organically, putting more money into it. And then really it's our reviews. We just make sure we get enough reviews to stay on top of Google, and that we've got at least a couple good ones coming in every month. So that way we've got fresh ones up there. And that's taken our company to another level. I mean, it's, you just got to keep, but it's also something, when you start getting ratings, you got to be able to service the customers. Cause if not, you'll get really bad ratings really quick also.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You got to make sure that you're able to serve, right? And
Yep.
Those reviews are, there's some statistics out there now that it's like over 80% of people trust an online review as much as a referral from a friend or family member, right? So as they're reading their reviews, those are such an important part of the process. And we'll talk, I want to go a little bit deeper into that a little bit later, maybe your review process and how you guys are doing that.
Yeah.
What are you guys doing on Facebook and social media that's generating the best action kind of lead?
We do constant posts. Every week we've got somebody that blasts out posts monthly, and we'll make sure that it's already automated with what we're sending out. But then it's like on this program I'm doing, they call it digital door knocking. Is basically you do a campaign of a certain amount of videos, and that can either be a picture, and what we've been doing is actual live videos of us on job sites, us out knocking doors, us out doing roofing inspections, and just kind of explaining the process. And then we just put a lot of money behind it. We just kind of do targeted ads in the neighborhoods we're working. And we just, have been definitely since COVID, we've tripled our Facebook budget.
Yeah, definitely. Is that Lee's system?
Yep, that's Lee's system.
Stuff?
So I purchased his system. It was roughly cheap, about $500 in total for the digital door knocking. And I just went off his scripts and just learned his system. And I've just been repeating that process for the past 90 days. And it's been working. I mean, it's been working. And not only has it been working for leads, but it's been getting us recognition. People have been, wanting to come work here and getting more involved with Roof King because our online image is looking better.
That's another thing that people don't think about. It. Shout out Lee Haight. I think he does
a
lot of great stuff. You do have to, implement. It's not for everyone, I'm sure. But he puts out a lot of good stuff. So I'm gonna get him as a guest on the podcast here.
Yeah, definitely.
So, but when you were speaking to that, what was I thinking of with the Facebook thing? It's putting some budget behind it, right? That's part of the process with social media. And one of the kind of misconceptions these days is that if you just start posting on social media, that will generate that interest. It's not just the posting on social media. Facebook and Instagram and all of these places have reduced the organic reach that you're going to get on those posts for people listening. And so putting paid ad spend behind those social posts will get you in front of a greater audience. And that's and that builds that brand awareness, right? So that brand
Absolutely.
awareness being built through that process. Now, as Jonathan is saying, now it's not just that he's attracting customers, right? It sounds like you're attracting, employees and things like that too.
Yeah, employees, people reaching out, asking questions all the time. Like, I've had customers that call me that said, hey, I saw your video. I got denied. I felt like I got mistreated. Everything you said, kind of described it. I need to talk to somebody. You sound like you know what you're talking about. Or I've had a lot of other business owners or other sales reps reach out to me and say, well, how do you do this? Or how do you do that? You're young. I see you had a little bit of success with this. And it's because now with social media, we're all starting to be able to talk about it,
That's
like on
right.
these roofers forums, just like what me and you were doing.
Yep.
I'm young, but even 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago, nobody was talking this much. And now information is getting passed a lot quicker. And I think people are realizing that they're missing out on a lot of opportunities they didn't know about.
Definitely. And one of the things I learned a long time ago was the person in front of the room is the expert. Right. So with social media and paid social media marketing, you can place yourself in front of the room, right? You can be the expert in your area and showcase your expertise to all of the homeowners wherever, in your service areas, in your target markets. So that's awesome, man. That's great that you guys are doing that. And so that sounds like it's generating the most leads now. Are you guys doing any pay-per-click or Google local service ads too, or just focused on kind of the map section? And
we just do an SEO.
Yep.
And then the Google ad services that they came out with, that's been working the best. But I quit doing PPC. I haven't been doing PPC or any of that. Now I'm going really hard on social media.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah.
Nice. A lot of times I like to have this conversation with roofing business owners, because it's something that a lot of contractors don't think about, and that is your customer acquisition cost, right? Do you guys focus on your customer acquisition cost?
Yes, we do. Sorry, I had somebody just walk in my door.
Yeah, no problem.
We do actually. I have a company that I use, 2 different marketing companies. One of them actually have this like crazy Excel chart where they break down at my exact cost per lead, like my exact cost for what I'm spending, because they can track it through Google. And I think we've got it to where it's only like $25, $35 per lead, and those have been my best leads. Like a good example is, you probably hear this all the time. Home Advisor is like $100, $200 a lead. Well, at least it is in the North Carolina market, and those leads are crap compared to my $20 and $30 leads. Those $20 and $30 leads, and that's made me excited, because I think back a couple of years ago, I used to look at it like $100 or $200 per internet lead to get an acquisition from a customer. Now I look at it like it's probably like $50 a customer. Because we get 2 or 3. Yeah, I mean, because and that just depends on your business model, because a lot of those obviously are going to be repairs, little gutter guards, you're getting everything. But if you're running those leads, you're closing them. I mean, Google's just a lot more, it's just a lot stronger than these Home Advisors, Angie's List. When people look you up, they want to go with you.
Yeah. And that's where you get to build that trust before they even make that phone call, right?
Yep.
Through your reviews, through the way that you position yourself online. And what I want to point out is that you're talking about through SEO, right? The lead cost through SEO. So the calls that you're getting through your Google My Business listing, maybe through your website, through organic rankings and things like that. That's what's getting down into that $25, $50 a call. But that lead cost for people, I want you to understand, doesn't happen overnight. There's a lot of work that goes into that over time. If you do the right things, you will get those rankings. And
you're exactly right. So I hate to say that, but I kind of tell people, they ask me like, how have you got here? How's your internet where it's at? I honestly tell them, because I understand how SEO and all the organic growth works. I mean, it's cost me not only a ton of legwork, but probably about $100,000, if not more, over time.
Over time,
just getting. If you get your website the correct way, professionally, like you just said, your first year it might be $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, and then you keep going year over year. You look at those big companies, that's because they've spent a ton of money. So like when people look at me, that's what it is. It's been a slow grind of doing the same thing for 6 years straight. And then every couple months, increasing your budget, going into the busy season, the slow season. And over time, like you said, you organically get it to where you have a low lead cost. So, shout out to my marketing team because they know what they're doing.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's what a lot of people don't have, is that patience, right? There are short-term marketing efforts, kind of mid-term marketing efforts, and long-term marketing efforts. SEO is one of those long-term marketing efforts, but if you put the work in, the results will come, right? They definitely will come. So what are there any marketing efforts that you've stopped using in, over the years that because of lack of performance? I know you'd mentioned like Home Advisor leads and stuff like that. But
yeah, I mean, I turn it on every once in a while if we get slow, but I usually keep those Home Advisor leads off. I probably ran way more of those 3-4 years ago. Angie's List, I'm not as heavy with them anymore. I used to spend a lot more money with Angie's List a year or two ago. I don't use Thumbtack anymore. Thumbtack was something I used every once in a while. So a lot of those lead services I don't use anymore because I think Google and Facebook is just that strong.
So I have a theory, and I mentioned this to contractors that I talk to all the time, that a lot of these paid sources, right, whether it's pay-per-click ads, even social media marketing, buying leads from the big lead aggregators, those are gap fillers, right? So to me, they fill gaps, right? Like you said, you turn them on every now and then if leads are slow. That's what I try to get it in people's minds, is that they're not the end all be all of your business, but they will definitely fill gaps. They can get the phone ringing, they can get action happening in your business. Just have the proper expectations of what you're doing there. So what's happened, it sounds like what's happened in your business, you can tell me if I'm wrong, is that you started off more with some of those kind of lead generation, lead aggregators, buying leads, and now you've built up such a strong online presence that you don't have to rely on that anymore.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yep. That's exactly what I try to, you're a perfect example of what I tell people all the time. And it takes a lot of work, and it does take some money up front to get those.
Yeah. It takes, like you said, nailed it, patience. That patience.
Patience, man. Yeah. It's so much patience. So, okay, now you guys have, now you're generating these leads. Are you doing anything special in your sales process that you think is kind of beyond what most companies do?
Our sales process, I wouldn't say it's probably more than other companies. I think companies, I know there's a lot of advanced guys out there. A lot of them I look up to, and they're like, my mentors in the industry. I think what I do that's better, and that's why, I feel like I ventured out on my own, is our production. I feel like when you get a roof from us, I feel like we're better at, managing the install, better at the crew. We're better at, servicing our work. And by working at, all these other companies, I've worked at other roofing companies that are $50-60 million roofers. So I know that. So that's what I think our niche is. And I think other sales guys would say that, because we got a lot of good sales guys, and they, generate a couple, $1 million, $2 million, and they're very comfortable handing those into production. They know their customers are going to be happy. They know that we go over the job sites and things get done correctly. So that's what I think. I think that's probably what more matters, is more obvious is the install.
That's an interesting point. Is I think that a lot of times when a salesperson really believes in and trusts in what they're selling, that it's easier for them to sell, right? They're more authentic. They're more authentic in the sales process. They don't have to sell, right? They don't have
so that's like my model that's like kind of my model that I think differentiates us from other roofers.
That's awesome. That's great. So okay, let's talk about production a little bit. So what are the things that you do that make you stand out?
Okay, I think other roofing companies are either smaller and they can't get to that point to where they can scale, and they just decide not to. And then you see a lot of companies that just have, project manager. They might have a production manager in the office, and they're either probably bigger or they're trying to grow, and they're just, keeping within the family. So what I've learned is I've learned that unless you have that team, and I've had to make some bad mistakes by doing so. You go start a market and you think you can just put a guy in a truck to, manage it and everything's going to get done right. That if you have a guy that's been doing it 10, 20, 30 years and he can just handle all the operations of that business, it's going to run 10 times smoother. I've worked at other roofing companies that were like that, where they had a regional manager who could get up there, install the roof with you, and that company is going to run 10 times smoother. So that's kind of how we do things. As big as we are, as many markets as we have, I order all our material. I schedule all the jobs with the crews. I send, the list out to the project manager, to the office manager. And over time, I've had 15 people working for me, on production, and then we've had 5 people. Everybody has come in an agreement that we run smoother, we get better reviews, and we can scale up quicker when you have the right people in place to deal with all that production. And the reason is the 80-20 rule. We're in some industries, you're selling mortgages over the phone. In roofing, you have to run back and forth to Home Depot. You have to get the right plywood, the right nails. So if you don't have that guy in place, that company's never going to grow. They're just going to always stay where they're at. That's what I feel like we have. We have not only myself, but I've got 2 guys that have been with me multiple years, and they can handle a lot in production. And that's what I've seen most people's headaches are, is what they do is they'll get the sales going and they'll start building, and then they don't have the production ready for it. And then now all the headaches can pile up, or they give it. And I've done this many times. You hire a girl in the office, or you hire somebody else and you say, hey, this is your job. You just do it. And this is such a complicated industry that if you're not fixing those leaks and giving those customers the responses they need fast enough, you're going to go out of business, or you're not going to be able to, call yourself Roof King. So I feel like that's kind of what is different than other business models, is I figured that out, that you got to, and other roofers told me, I would ask them, how are you so big? They'd be like, hey man, I let everything pass through me. Believe it or not, I do $10 to $20 million in transactions, and I still let everything pass through me. So that way these mistakes don't happen. So that's that's what I'm doing until I figure it out, I guess. But it's been a huge part of our success.
That's awesome. The right production managers, right? The right people in the productions in the production kind of right roles in the production roles in your company. What makes a good production manager in your opinion? What are the traits of?
You got to be fast paced, very fast paced. You got to be able to work long hours, because a lot of times we install late. That's when things can arise, or weekends. It can be raining, and then you got a leak on your hands. And you got to have really, really thick skin. Nobody in this industry ever survives that job if they do not have thick skin, because you're dealing with emotions. You're dealing with emotions from customers. You're dealing with emotions from crews. So that's what that person needs. They need to have thick skin. They need to be fast-paced and be able to just basically deflect. And if they do that, they'll be very good, because, customers are going to complain, but you got to make them happy. It's just that what I've seen that somebody can only deal with so many complaints. They get to a point where they get, burned out because they're trying to deal with too many customers. And if that person can just weather that storm, they're perfect for it.
Nice. And so, through production now, you're putting on a quality product, and you're doing a great job. Is there anything that you do special on production day that makes you that you do to stand out in the customer's eyes, to kind of
maybe not. Other roofers probably do this too, so I don't think we're anybody special. But I still think we stand out really, really well. Is we get there every morning, right before the crew starts. Before they start, usually most of the time. Obviously sometimes, when we're pulling up the same time or a little bit after, and I think that really creates a lot of trust. That makes for that customer, before they go to work, or if they're going to be there all day, they really feel like they got comfort, and that they're reassured that we're going to do the job right. And then in the Raleigh market, I manage all our installs. So then they get to meet the owner, and they feel that direct contact. And I feel like that sets us apart. And we always do walk-arounds and extra cleanups, regardless if, we even have to. So on every one of our installs, we always come back, run the magnet again. We'll do an attic inspection. And I think those little things that we're doing make it to where they remember us. And, I think what we do compared to other roofing companies that probably sticks out, to be honest, is on our installs, we give, and most of the time it's me doing it, is I'll give the customer a very, very detailed update of what happened during their installation, not only during, but afterwards. So like most companies just build the roof, the office manager's following up, production manager's following up, they're emailing. I'll actually, get on your roof, take pictures of us cutting in your ridge vent, take pictures of the bad plywood, me taking the 3-inch sinker nails or the right, nails and using them. And I'll update the customer and I'll say, sir, you might not have been educated on this aspect of roofing, but I am simply just going to do this to give you overkill so you know exactly what happened while we were at your property. And I think that right there makes it to where when we're done, that is what makes it where we stick apart, because they feel like they really interacted with a roofer. They're like, wow, like I learned something new. He put ice and water shield on a 412 pitch and I didn't even know about that. Wow, why did he tell me this? Why did he send me photos? Why did he send me a long list naming all these things? Because I want that trust to where if a warranty or anything comes up, and I just feel like that's what's setting us apart, because it's not only myself, but our project manager, office managers, all our roof consultants, they're trained like this. We don't even let anybody really on our team unless you understand that you're here to be the best. Because if a headache comes up, like what me and you were talking about on production, we've got to be responsive. And that's what I've always seen is, I think that's what sets us apart too, you'll get the same experience from our sales rep that you would on our production team. We don't just have sales guys running around. They actually understand that we're building roofs and how to make what we got to do to make these customers, happy.
So that was really what popped in my mind when you were talking about that process and the detail that you go into and taking those pictures. A lot of times that's done on the sales side, right? Very, you're up on the roof, you're taking pictures of all if it was a, storm damage or something like that, you're really, really detailed in it. The salesperson is usually really detailed in explaining what is wrong and how they're going to fix it. But I love that aspect that you guys are going in on the other side and showing this is what it's doing in great detail to fix it. And I'm sure that is definitely building trust. You already built trust with them for them to hire you, right? But now you're taking that to another level of trust. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, like a good thing I like to do is I use videos a lot. A lot of us have iPhones. So I like to take videos of because a lot of customers aren't there when you do a walkthrough, because a lot of times people are going to work. So I actually will literally take videos and say, hey, how are you doing, Brian? I'm about to take a video real quick of me getting in your bushes. And I'll take a video of me scraping it with magnets. And that I've noticed creates so much trust, because they're like, man, this guy's not afraid of getting his hands dirty and showing me that he found nails and that, I think that's a great tactic. I've been telling, our sales guys, definitely with COVID, is use the video conferencing as much as you can, or just taking a video of yourself and sending it to a customer, and they love it.
Definitely. That's awesome. Those details are what really makes you stand out for sure. And so, coming back around to some of the early conversation, what are you guys doing in that process to generate the reviews? It sounds like a lot of the things that you're implementing are to build that trust and to, make sure that that you're kind of creating a fan out of that customer. Is there any specific way that you're asking for reviews?
Yes.
What is your process for that?
Absolutely. There's specific ways. So we make sure, obviously, make sure the customer's happy, and we do, we follow up with them to make sure that we can get the review before we even ask, so obviously we're not just, we're just asking every customer, which most of our customers are satisfied, but we got a cool software that our marketing team gave us that basically sends an automated text message with a link to the Google. So that way, if you have an Android or you're logged into your Gmail account, you can just text the review you want to post, and it automatically will put it on the Google website. So like for people that are older or anything like that, that one less step I've noticed has helped us get a lot more reviews than just trying to do it the old school way or taking them to the website. And then what we usually do is we send them the review, and then we kind of use it as a push for when we go to collect our money. So we haven't got all our money yet. When we're following up with them, we're like, hey, you already got that review link. Can you please make sure to fill it out? This is just a friendly courtesy reminder. And that's what I've noticed has been our best, is by when we follow up, we act like it's a courtesy reminder and we're just getting our check. And then we usually have the rep or the office manager explain to them, hey, we get rated on customer satisfaction. We get bonuses as employees for these things. So even if it's bad, sir, could you please just post it? And this is just my friendly reminder to you. And most of the time, people are only going to post it if it's something nice. But by following that little system, we get a lot of reviews.
Definitely. That's great. And it's in the ask. I like that the employees are saying, hey, we get bonuses on this. It's part of what we do. So the homeowner feels like they're helping that employee. I think a lot of times is where companies miss the boat, because a homeowner sometimes will have a disconnect with the company, but they'll have a connection with the salesperson or the production manager or the office manager or someone on the team, right? And so that personal connection will drive that review a lot faster than for the company, right?
Yep. So like my project managers, that's how I rate them, and all our managers get rated on customer satisfaction and reviews. So that's the way that's why our system works, because they kind of use that, like you're saying, is their end.
Yeah, and it's built into that sounds like it's built into your company culture, right?
Yep.
It's not just, hey, we need to get these reviews, right?
Yeah.
This is what we do. This is part of what we do on a daily basis, is get those reviews. It's part of your job.
Yep.
And you had mentioned reputation management tools. I don't know which ones you guys are using, or which one you guys are using, but just for the listeners out there, there's so many available, right? There's so many reputation management tools available. They all do about the same thing, right? They all will send an email to your client with a link. They'll send a text message to your customer with a link. And so having that tool really helps in that process, but having that tool will not get you more reviews. You have to act. So let's talk a little bit about, I know you guys are part of is it the Griffin companies?
The Griffin Brothers Company. Yep.
Griffin Brothers Company. Sorry, the Griffin Brothers Companies, and part of the Zoom Up program. And we were talking about this earlier off the call, but about what kind of impact that has had on you, and it kind of, I guess, maybe explain a little bit about what that is and what that is. I think it's, from what I understand of the program, it's essentially you have kind of access to some really high level mentorship in that area.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It means a lot to me. I mean, it's been a huge part of our success, and one of the best things I feel like we've done in our journey of being Roof King is it really allows, like you said, the mentorship where you get guidance, advice on, how to be bigger in business, marketing advice. Just, a lot of people probably don't realize, if they're on the Facebook or all these things, you have all these referral groups or all these like little networks. That's kind of what it is. Not only is it mentorship, but by being part of it through, all these other businesses, we got HVAC companies, electrical companies, plumbing company, sewage companies. So all of us get to talk, and we get to, share ideas, and we get to talk about our challenges out there as business owners that are millennials. All of us, they target guys that are from the ages of 25 to 35. I mean, you can be any age, you can be 50, 60 years old, but they're, mostly going after that millennial age group. And that's what I found out, because when I was, going through the grind, I got to a point where not only do they provide, finances, and they make investments and provide, more of a financial structure for those businesses. But I was smart enough to realize I was at, I'm looking at my numbers in front of me. I was at 1.5, 1.6 was my best year. So but I averaged about 1.2 to 1.3. I realized I couldn't get any bigger. I realized that not only would it take a lot more money financially, and then stability, stabilizing, you're doing it all yourself, to have partners would be a lot better, but knowledge. I realized that knowledge was money. I mean, and I think where I learned a lot of this too was growing up, was I had family members who were big in business. Everything they did and most of their success came from their partnerships. It came from who they knew, who they got in business with, what agreements, ways they, sliced up a different market or a different, that they were doing car businesses then. So those are things that I learned and saw. And then I always, like you said, you mentioned it earlier, I'm big into basketball. So I'm a team player. All of us got those egos and want to be number one, but I'm not like that. As a leader, I'm the guy that you can criticize. You can say, hey man, you got to do this better. You're doing that wrong. Why don't you need to step your game up? So I wanted that in my life. I knew that if I got that at a young age, that would also help me as I got older. Because think about it, you're an entrepreneur, self-employed. You can't, you're dealing with a lot of headaches, but you can't be telling yourself something good every day. You got to have somebody that tells you, hey, you spend too much money, or hey, you lost too much money. So little things like that, having a mentorship or a business partner, that's what I see the value in. So like if you're a roofer, you got a guy that's good at production, you got a guy that's good at sales, they could probably make the perfect team. But then where it also helps is you have somebody else watching the money, you're watching each other's backs. So, it just helps in today's times.
Yeah. And it sounds like you sound like someone who seeks knowledge in a lot of different places with like Lee's program. And it sounds like you do a lot of other things, but that's one of the things that, I think that people get lost in, is that they try to do it all themselves. Right. And I love the sports analogy, the basketball analogy, because, you have teammates, you have coaches, you're practicing, right? It's not game day all the time, right? So sometimes you're training, right? And so that's part of gaining that knowledge. And sometimes you need a coach, right? You can be the star player, you can be the star point guard, but without the right coaching, without the right people on your team, it just doesn't, it's not going to work out for you. So, I think that is a great thing that you guys have been doing, is finding mentors to fill those gaps in your knowledge, finding and becoming part of these groups, right? It doesn't have to be the specific group that you're involved in, but industry trade associations, local business associations, like being a part of groups and being around people that are going through some of the same struggles that you are, maybe not in the same industry. Like you said, part of your guys' group is, electricians and other types of companies, but a lot of times you'll run into similar struggles, right? It from a business perspective. So joining groups and being around very successful people is definitely, definitely something to look out for the listeners. That's, something that, so what do you think is the greatest insight that you could share with our audience that's helped you find success in your roofing business?
It's probably like, little things, but I think that what's starting to make me successful now, definitely these past year or two, is be mindful of your time. If you can figure out, definitely as a business owner, and for those managers out there, definitely these guys, I always teach everybody on this team to be very mindful of your time. I'm a finance guy, so you have the time value of money equation. What I figured out is that if you waste a lot of your time putting it, training the wrong person, waiting for that sales guy to turn into a deals and he never does it, then you're just going to keep going backwards and keep wasting so much energy, effort, and money. And I could sit here and tell people all the stories about this market or that market, and that's what I could tell them is this: if you're mindful of that, you can be successful. Because once you figure out this business, you're like, I know how much time it takes to sell a roof. I know how much time it takes to build a roof. So, if I'm out here recruiting, when I recruit people, and Lee talks about it in his training program, and I kind of got some of this from Lee, he was like, man, just be straight up with them. Like, just straight up tell somebody, man, I am busy. I don't have a lot of time. Most guys come on board my team, they don't make it, man. Like, we only take winners. We don't like losers on our team. And, like, if you start just telling people that, you'd be amazed at not only will you get the right people around you, you'll get the wrong people away from you quickly. Because, like, when I interview people and I start explaining this to them, like, hey, you know, we're a bunch of winners. You know, we like to bring the best out of each other. So, you know, we can be hard on each other. That person will never usually – they'll tell us, like, hey, I'm not interested. Hey, they won't come back to the second phase or the third phase of the interview. And that's what I realized. I realized that because if you go back through the years of me being in business, there were so many times where I was hiring people and putting time into them who never even listened. They never listened. They never dissected any of the knowledge you gave them, any of these things. And I lost so much money, so much time. And then I started doing things myself, focusing on my time management. I started selling more, being way more profitable. And then when it comes to recruiting people, I started getting a lot better people around me and being able to filter through them quickly. And I think that's a great skill, not only in roofing, but just in life in general. I think people don't realize that that's the key to making a lot of money. Is a lot of people think that life's going to come easy. Don't waste your time doing something that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, time is limited, right? We all have limited time, and that's great. That's a great insight there. Well, Jonathan, thanks for being on the show today. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
If you would like to generate more sales through your digital marketing efforts, please visit roofermarketers.com and get a copy of the book, Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors, How to Triple Your Sales and Turn Your Roofing Website into an Online Lead Generation Machine. Also, check the training section of the website for guides on everything from running effective pay-per-click ads to how to properly set up your Google My Business listing. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. Thanks for listening.